Hey there viewers, it's Charlie. I'm back again with another Transformers review, and today's review is going to be one of my favourite figures, but before I show it, yes, my background has changed again. Look, it wasn't my doing, okay? I had no control over it. But well, before I go off on a tangent, today's review is going to be on Generation 1 Ultra Magnus. And let me just say, this is one of my favorite Transformers figures. No, characters. Now, if you see my older videos from years ago when my voice was really high-pitched, then I actually did a review on G1 Magnus. However, that was the commemorative series reissue. This is an original G1 figure, since it actually has the long smokestack instead of the shortened ones that they did for safety. The actual reason I wanted an Ultra Magnus back all those years ago was because my tongue's not working. I really wanted a G1 Optimus Prime figure, although I couldn't find one for a good price, so I did settle with a commemorative Ultra Magnus. However, I got rid of my entire collection for reasons I have no idea why. I guess I was stupid back then. But, well, recently I wanted to get Ultra Magnus again because I was really missing him and I thought he was a good figure. So I found one, I made an offer for it. I think the guy did a counter offer that I accepted and I bought it. It arrived a few days late, but I don't care because, well, I'm just glad to have this guy back in my collection. So yeah. Now, Magnus here is supposed to be a recolor of G1 Prime, well, Optimus Prime, with a new trailer, this being a car carrier. And let's have a look at the actual truck section first. So, yeah, it's a square with rectangles on the end. But come on, this is the G1 Optimus Prime / Ultra Magnus mold. This is a sacred figure. At least to some people. Because there could be some people who think, really, what's the big deal about this guy? He doesn't even look that cool. To which I say, shut up, this guy's really amazing. If you were a kid in the 80s, which I wasn't, I'm a 2000s kid. But if you were a 1980s kid, Optimus Prime is special. I mean, he's special to me, but that's just because I'm a huge Transformers fan. Every Optimus Prime is special to me, whether it's G1 or the Unicron Trilogy, any Optimus Prime. But I also have that same sentiment with Ultra Magnus, as he's one of my favorite Transformers characters. And well, there are tons of people who collect Optimus Prime figures, but the Stormtrooper, for example. I just really want to start collecting Ultra Magnus figures, because, well, you'll see the other ones I have in a couple minutes. But let's have a look at the actual figure. Well, for one, this bit can open, and that shows the... I do have the fists in here because these are parts former, sadly. But this does open because this was a Diaclone figure to put some drivers in. Because, yeah, this was a Diaclone figure. But we have the front with the windows here. And we do have some really good detailing because we've got some rivets. We have some window wipers. We have, I guess, what could be like the Freightliner logo if it was there. Got these little silver stripes here on the side. Got the front radiator. Got the headlights, albeit with holes in them to accommodate for the fists. Got the little bottom bit here. The side with the smokestacks. And as I said, this is the G1 release because these are longer. Now, for whatever reason, you can untab them from like this little top bit and they can rotate around. I can't tell if that's intentional or not. Got the back here. Got the other side. I think normally there's supposed to be some Autobahn insignias, but this doesn't really have any stickers on it, sadly. The top, which is missing the rub sign, unfortunately, so I can't... We'll never know if he's an Autobot or a Decepticon. But yeah, it is missing the rub sign, unfortunately. Got the little gas tanks here, and this is actually one of the first variants of Ultra Magnus, or well, the first version of him. Because from what I can remember, the first versions of Ultra Magnus had the smokestacks, well, the smokestacks were always painted, but had the gas tanks and the face painted. Because, well, as you can see, this Ultra Magnus has rubber tires. Later versions had plastic tires, and the gas tanks weren't painted at all. You'll see why I went with the rubber tire version when we get to the robot modes. And the underneath, which doesn't have any robot junk, which is amazing. And you can sort of see how the legs work, because we've got these little ratchets here. But yeah, we have a truck mode that doesn't have any robot junk on it, which is amazing. It's very rare to have Transformers figures that hide all their robot kibble. Now, if we have a look at the car carrier section, well, we've got white, we've got blue, we've got red. So yeah. So we've got an Autobot insignia here on the side. Got a lot of detail here. I mean, just look at the detail all on the side bit here. Got the back here, and these bits do come down to accommodate for the cars. This does accept the Autobot cars, because this is a car carrier, and I will show that soon. Got the back here. Here we have the top. And we've got the underneath, which shows some of the dates. And this bit, this is the little thing that attaches onto the bit here for when he's holding the trailer or the car carrier. Complete right off the bat, and it's just due to the age. This compresses too easily. That's due to the transformation. And it's also because of the age of the figure, because remember, this is like 86. So yeah, so if we just have him in full car carrier mode. Now for accessories, he has quite a lot. I mean, for one, as showed earlier, he does have the small robot fists, which I like to keep in here when not in use. Come on, everyone does that with Prime and Magnus. We have these two things, which are missile launchers. They don't fire, but that's because of the Transformers of the 80s not having firing missiles in Europe and this is when my tongue stops working. They don't fire, but that's just because of Transformers in the UK and US not having firing missiles. But they do go right in the front here. And if you remember my review on Commemorative Ultra Magnus, or if you even had Commemorative Ultra Magnus, it did have firing missiles, although the missiles were elongated, so they look ridiculous. Now here, we also have two more fists. These are for the combined robot mode, because you can combine with his trailer. We have this bit. It could be a jet, if you like imagination, but this is really the chest plate for the robots. We have a gun, which can go in either the small or the big hands. And we have the combined robot head. Now, going back to the variants, if this was the plastic tire variant, then the face and the antenna would not be painted, and these would just be blue. And this is why I chose the rubber tire variant. I wanted the painted face because it looked better, in my opinion. It looked way better. Now, some cool thing that they can do is, well, you see this little gap on the forehead? You can, well, attach it onto the little chest plate thing, although I don't know why. I guess you could put it in here as a little gun thing, if you want to. But yeah. Now, this guy is a car carrier, so if we can just get these open, what we can do is push these out, move this down, and well, what you can do is you can roll some cars up. So here I have Sunstreaker and Mirage. These two are both KOs. And here I have Prowl and Red Alert. These guys are both commemorative reissues. So the KOs, well, with the KOs, I'll put them up here. I mean, you really have to use your imagination here. To be honest, it's easier to keep this up and just place them up by yourself. And then what you can do is roll the two more cars up in here. And you can just close this up. And now he can transport 4 cars into battle, like the UK ad said. So yeah. And this does come from the Diaclone version of this figure, because Ultraman does come from the Diaclone line, just like all 4 of these cars, so it comes from that. But you can also use the Autobot car Hot Rods, even though he was designed by Hasbro themselves, at least from what I can remember. He can still work with Ultra Magnus. But if I just get these cars off, say Ultra Magnus has transported them to the battlefield and they're ready to attack. But before we get on to this guy's transformation, let's compare him. So here we have G1 Ultra Magnus compared to Robots in Disguise Ultra Magnus. And we can see a lot of differences right off the bat. I mean, for one, RID Magnus, he can't really turn at all. It's just a big, long rectangle. He just can't turn whatsoever. Whereas with this guy, he can do U-turns. So yeah. Comparing to cabs, well, the Robots in Disguise cab is a bit more squished up. Because, well, the bumper section is way bigger. Because this is also the chest for the Omega Prime mode that he does with RID Prime. I guess he does have a bit more painted details. Although, yeah, my copy has yellowed. Thankfully, my G1 Magnus hasn't yellowed, but my RID Magnus has. That wasn't because of me, that's how I got it. Another difference is with the RID character, you can sort of see, well, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's a bit more obscured by these little bits here. Whereas with G1 Magnus, you got an entire... But you can see the cars more clearly when they're being carried. So yeah. And also, here we have G1 Ultra Magnus with Beast Hunter's Ultra Magnus. And right off the bat, you can see a big difference. G1 Magnus is a car carrier. Prime Beast Hunter's Ultra Magnus is just a long-nosed truck, and that's it. I mean, yeah, Beast Hunter's Magnus is not a car carrier whatsoever. So even though his robot mode does resemble the original Magnus, his vehicle mode definitely doesn't. So that's definitely a big difference right there. But we're not done with the comparisons. Here he is with one of the other movie characters, Cup. Pretty much the only other movie Autobot I have right now. Here he is with Cyclonus, because from what I can remember, in a few episodes of the G1 series, these guys were rivals. But now, here we have Ultra Magnus with his main rival, Galvatron. And yeah, these two look awesome together. Because remember, these two were advertised as being the new leaders for a while, before Magnus was sort of replaced with Optimus Prime. And speaking of which, here he is with Optimus Prime. Now I realized I forgot to show this guy, so I had to pause the recording just to get him and transform him. So, here we have all my movie Autobots so far. Ultra Magnus, Optimus Prime, and Cup. But yeah, just like how Galvatron and Magnus look good together, Optimus and Magnus look good together. Now, one last thing to show. Here I have G2 Silverbolt. In Ultra Magnus's G1 box, it showed something like this. If I can raise my camera, sort of. It showed something like Silverbolt being on the back of the car carrier. I guess sort of like he's ready to launch. So Ultra Magnus could also function as a little launching pad if you want to, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it for his car carrier mode. Let's get on with the transformation. And to start off, let's get him into his standard White Prime robot mode. So if I just get the fists out, if I can speak. So to start, come on, it's just like Optimus Prime. You know this transformation. The legs fall down, the feet go up. The arms move out. And the head flips around. And then the fists plug in. It's just how Optimus Prime transforms. So yeah. And from what I can remember, I cannot speak today. In my old review for Ultra Magnus, I called these bits fenders. I don't know if they are. I don't know vehicles that well, but I'm just going to call them the back parts when in vehicle mode from now on. So the back parts form the feet. But yeah, here we have Magnus in his standard robot mode. And this is only seen a couple times. I think most notably, this was seen in one of the Dreamwave comics, where like one of the, I can't remember who it was, but someone blasts off his armor, and he reveals that he's just a white Optimus Prime inside, just like the toy. IDW didn't do that. They made it so Ultra Magnus is an armor worn by tons of characters, with the current one being Minimus Ambus, but Dreamwave, in my opinion, Dreamwave did what I believe was the correct thing and show that Ultra Magnus is really just white Optimus Prime. I wish this was shown more. I mean, we've had tons of figures of Ultra Magnus that were just white Optimus Primes. Sure, sometimes they're retooled to have a Ultra Magnus like face, but come on, most Optimus Prime figures have been recolored into Ultra Magnus before. I mean, if anything, like the only unique mold figures of Ultra Magnus that we've had are RID, because I showed that earlier, animated, and a couple of G1 Ultra Magnus figures like Masterpiece and Combiner Wars. So yeah, this pretty much kickstarted the trend of white Optimus Prime figures being released. Well, having a 360 at the figure, we can see, yeah, he's hollow in the back. So if you do open this, so if he wants to put the Matrix in, it's got an entire hole through him. If you can see that, he's got an entire hole. So that's a complaint, but... And these arms have gotten pretty loose, but once again, it's because of the age. Looking at the head, once again, if this was the plastic tire variant, the head would not be painted whatsoever, so yeah. Now, for the articulation, well, the head does nothing. We do have shoulders. We do have the elbows. We do have sideways elbow action. Bit of fist rotation. These can go in if you want. I guess he does have knees, which is pretty cool. And he does have foot articulation. So he is a bit posable. Now, if you want to, you can take the gun and put it in his hands. We'll just kind of weigh it down due to the age. But yeah. That's pretty much it for the standard robot mode, but... Come on, that's not what you came for. You came for the full-on robot mode, so... If I can just raise my camera... Okay now, and yes, you can see some of my Beast Wars figures, but well, that's not the main focus. The main focus is the trailer section. So to start, I'm gonna remove the missile launchers. Try and get these bits in so they don't flop about during the transformation. Wow. Take this entire section and try and compress it if you can. There we go. And this is what the looseness shows. Take these bits and fold them out. Move these bits. And they form his legs. Untap this. Well, before I do that, as you can see, this is where the looseness shows. Well, yeah, you see, do not stay up. So for this, I'm going to use my friend Blue Tack. This is what I use to keep these bits up when I'm displaying him in his full-on robot mode. So I'll Just... There we go. So now just untab that, if it will. There we go. Fold these around. Unfortunately, the clips on this side have broken off, so it's a bit flimsy. Fold these up, form the elbows. And pretty much that's it. Although, take what was the little trailer hitch section, and this forms his pants. Take this section, and this forms his bra. Take these, and they go in his... Well, they go in the sides of his shoulders this time. I suppose if you want to, you can have them on the side in the vehicle mode as well. Or the official way to have them on the vehicle mode was to put them on top of these bits. Now, the fists I'll put on last. But if we just take Magnus again. Take these bits off. Transform the arms again, although leave the head up. I guess if you want to, just put the fists back into where they were. And put the feet down. Then take his mask. And just put it over his head like an actual mask toy from Kenner. Which I'll probably like get one day just for the hell of it. But you see like where the hands would plug in? They plug into these little knob things here. I know that sounds wrong, but stop laughing. There we go. These arms are a bit loose, but eh. What I like to do is before I plug the hands in, put the gun in and just stick the hands in like you did with the like what you did with the white Optimus Prime figure. And here is Ultra Magnus in his full-on robot mode. And let me just say, oh my god. This figure looks amazing. I mean, this is how Ultra Magnus was seen for pretty much the entirety of the original G1 series. Either he was in his car carrier mode, or he was in his combined robot mode. So if I have a quick 360, well not quick, but careful 360, because his arms are pretty loose. Back, you can see the white cab just clicking off in dear life. Now, looking at the head, pretty much what I'll do is I'll take the head off and I'll show you. I know that's a bit weird looking, but the actual head, I mean, it does look like how it did in the cartoon, which is pretty good. Especially since this is the painted version. So, for the comparisons, I've got a lot of transformations to do, so, well, give me a minute. So, yeah. So, here he is with RID Magnus. And we can see a definite difference here. I mean, for one, Robots in the Sky's Ultra Magnus is way taller. I cannot even speak. Not only that, but RID Magnus has wings formed from the top section of his car carrier modes. Oh, yeah, that's also a complaint. The fists can fall off quite easily thanks to the age as well. The heads are also pretty different because RIT Magnus doesn't have any horns on him or antenna. So yeah, well, he does resemble Ultra Magnus in some places. He doesn't in some others. Oh, pardon the noise. That was just RIT Magnus falling over. Don't worry, he's fine. He can deal with it. Here he is with Beast Hunter's Magnus. If I can get him to stand correctly. And we can see that Beast Hunter's Magnus was definitely trying to homage the original. I mean, the heads are pretty similar. Although he does look pretty different in some other places. I mean, well, G1 Magnus has lots of red. This guy only has it here and on the shoulders and knees, or the shins. Although it is pretty similar to the shins on the original Magnus. I'll give him that. Next up, here he is with his rival, Cyclonus. Because his leg's not working for me. From what I can remember, there was an episode where these two did team up to escape a Quintesson. And I think they did clash a couple of times in the show. Next up, here he is with Ronimus. And his arms just betray me right now. But here he is next to Optimus Prime. And they do look pretty cool together, I must say. And excuse the squeaking, I'm getting cup transformed. But yeah, if I also had Hot Rod, this could be a really cool looking picture. Now, speaking of cup, here he is with Ultra Magnus. And yeah, Ultra Magnus is definitely way bigger. Finally, the one that I'm the most excited to show. Here he is with Galvatron. Well, I forgot to add Galvatron's arm cannon. There we go. But here he is with his nemesis, Galvatron. And oh my god, these two look so awesome together. I mean, seriously. These guys were advertised as the new leaders for a time before Rodimus came and took their position for Ultra Magnus, but still. But yeah. Now, for this guy's articulation, it's pretty limited compared to the cab robot. I mean, the head still can't do anything. The arms can move. Although there's no... Oh, there is sideways elbow action. That actually surprised me. He does have elbows, as it's shown in the transformation. The wrists can rotate. I'm not showing it because he's pretty loose. And the legs don't do anything. Excuse me. And the legs don't do anything. So, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about Magnus. Complaints? Well, even though this is one of my favorite Transformers figures, that doesn't mean he doesn't have a few flaws. Most of them are just due to age, though. One, the looseness. I mean, you see this arm here? I want it to be level with this arm, but nope. Physics have screwed me over. Well, you can try and balance it on the little circle thing there. So, yeah. but he can get loose in some places. Even to the point where these shoulder bits don't stay up and you have to use blue tack like what I had to do. Another issue, well, the lack of articulation in the combined mode is a bit disappointing, but it's understandable. It's done to keep costs down and so it's not too fragile and confusing for kids. But I wish he had some leg articulation in the combined robot mode. I also wish that the missiles actually did fire because that would be pretty cool. But well, that's pretty much all I have to say. So do I recommend Ultra Magnus? Well, if you're a G1 fan, then come on, of course I do. Ultra Magnus is one of the most popular Transformers characters ever. I mean, dude. Come on, there's a reason that he keeps getting figures, even if they're just white Optimus Primes. So yeah, if you're a G1 fan, come on, this guy needs to be in your collection. But well, say you really want this guy to have articulation. Well, there are a few articulated Ultra Magnus figures. If anything, the best of them is most likely the Masterpiece, MP22. However, there is also Combiner Wars, Siege, and the Kingdom Ultra Magnus if you want a more posable figure. So yeah, quite a few options if you want a posable Ultra Magnus figure. But for me, I'm glad I've got the OG figure because this guy is amazing. So yeah, that's been my review on G1 Ultra Magnus. And this is Charlie Young, signing off.